If every competitor brand is zigging, it might be time to think about zagging. Imagine you are starting a digital-first CPG brand. What are the steps in which you would do this? First, you would kind of conceptualize and create a product. Most of the time, it's going to be around maybe a passion or maybe a pain point that you've seen in the market personally that you want to solve. Secondly, you kind of come up and conceptualize a brand and create a brand around that product. Then you're going to create a website. You're going to create social media accounts, create an Amazon listing. When you get those products, you're going to start more than likely doing some Facebook advertising, some Amazon advertising, some Google advertising to make sure you get some traffic sent to either those Amazon listings or your website. And based on some of those early indications around sales, profitability, how well your marketing is going, those indicators are going to point to you either to raise capital if that's in your game plan, or just to reinvest current profits back into some of those well-performing marketing campaigns, digital marketing campaigns that you are doing with Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Now, while that's a complete oversimplification of what it takes to launch a digital-first CPG brand in 2020, more so than not, that is the typical kind of zigging game plan that you see with all of these brands that are getting launched, these copycat brands, all these brands that kind of seem like they are going to come into the market and you don't ever think they're going to get any traction. You see kind of a commonality between all of these brands that are getting created in 2020. And that's because most CPG entrepreneurs start with the product. That's kind of how it's always been. You start with the product and kind of the brand that encompasses it. The product, and I kind of want to say like it better be a great product in 2020. That is kind of the entry fee to get into the market. It's not just launching any product. I can launch 1 million products tomorrow like anybody else. It has to be a great product to at least be able to have an entry fee to compete in the overall market. But it won't be the only lone factor for your success today. So what if you start somewhere different in that kind of normal zigging game plan? Maybe you start where most people actually end. Maybe this is where you start to zag when most people are going to continue to zig. And what I'm talking about with that kind of last 2/3 part of those steps I talked about, and mostly on the very end of it, I'm talking about kind of this digital marketing side of it, trying to create attention, trying to create traffic that goes to your Amazon listings or your direct-to-consumer website. And this is the part that is the problem in the market and also the solution if you think about it in the right manner. And this is why you're seeing winners and losers being created in the CPG market with the kind of digital first or digitally native type of CPG products that are getting launched. This is where the winners and losers are being created. If you don't have an effective and efficient means to reaching an audience, great products won't be enough to succeed today. You need to acquire attention. You need to acquire the consumer's attention. So I think most people realize that on its face value. And to that point, most people zigging are looking at Facebook, Google, and Amazon to create more attention, more traffic that's to some of their listings, making sure that it can be long-term profitable for them. But everybody's doing this. So you're having a ton of people jumping in doing the same exact thing. That's driving up costs. If anybody does a lot of business digitally, they know that the costs have continuously increased in all of those areas that I talked about. If you're talking about Google, you're talking about Facebook, you're talking about Amazon, the cost of acquiring all whatever metrics that you want to look at have become more costly over time. And I know that there are a ton of, really unique things you could do. And sometimes you can find some little holes and arbitrages and all kinds of things like that. Totally get it. But I'm talking about just generalization. We're mapping out just the cost to acquire customers or whatever metric you want to look at. Over time, it has become more expensive. And if you're working on a fixed amount of margin, unless you increase like exponentially your volume from like a manufacturing standpoint or something like that, you need to make sure that you can be profitable long term. And if you have costs are rising, you need to figure out, especially if you also are struggling with kind of customer lifetime value and metrics like that, like that's lowering as well. You're looking at a very grim future. So the solution as well is that everybody's doing the same thing. You know what everybody's doing. So while everybody is zigging, why not zag? Why not think differently? Why not try to approach business in a different manner? There is constantly different attention arbitrage opportunities everywhere, but you have to think differently than everybody else. Odds are, if you are somebody that's thinking about a product first in CPG world, you do not have just the skill set from a digital marketing standpoint than somebody that does it every single day, in and out, all the time. That person will run circles around you. So why try to play their game? Why not think about this a little bit differently? Think about starting from the bottom part of that zigging strategy. Think about, how do I acquire attention? And then work backwards to the product. Can you create attention first? And then can you create a product that is tailored to the attention in which you've created? That can provide a compelling solution to the challenges that CPG companies are facing on a day-to-day basis in 2020. I see this being done actively in the market already two ways. One that I talk about pretty often, I probably don't talk about it in this particular manner, but that's around influencer-led brand or influencer-created products and brands. The influencer has built up a strong following and has a ton of attention from a number of consumers that are very interested and actively engaged in this person's day-to-day life. Then they decide to create a product or brand that's tailored specifically to the audience in which they've created. The better they can align all those things properly, the better that the offering, brand, product, everything will be great. I mean, you see some ones that are poorly executed, and those are definitely a case, but you also see ones that are very well executed, and you're seeing millions upon millions of product sales being created in year one, where most people don't get to that level unless they have raised a ton of capital and they're probably not profitable even yet. But say you're not an influencer. Say you don't have access to maybe some other influencers that maybe would be interested in partnering with brands with you, that create brands with you. What do you do? How do you solve this problem? I think that's a question that I get a lot. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to be that person. I'm not an influencer. How do I create influence in the market? And the answer is content. Content. But you have to kind of think about it in a different way. As an example, say I decide to start like 5 websites, 5 general topic websites. I do one in kind of wellness. I do one in personal finance. I do one in travel. I do one in technology, maybe one in gaming, like esports, those types of things. So I launched those 5 websites. I set them up as content websites. I regularly update with compelling content. Visitors are consistently coming back. They start to trust the information from those websites. They're getting value from those websites. So it's easy for me then to ask for some of their customer data in exchange for some kind of personalized or tailored newsletters. It's very easy to do that because I am thinking about this as my starting point. I'm creating content. I am thinking about attention, getting attention first. I'm not necessarily even thinking about anything around products at this point because I'm trying to test, can I get the attention and what type of attention can I get from consumers? And as I'm doing this, kind of icing on the cake is I'm actually creating a real business here, one that arguably is going to have some advertising revenue, is going to have site traffic and a ton of other things that is going to be valuable in its own self. But as I'm building all of this up and I'm getting kind of audience data, I'm starting to understand what my audience are into, what they're talking about. I then begin to start thinking about tailored product offerings specifically towards the audience in which I've created. So I'm actually thinking about creating attention first. What is that attention? What is my audience comprising of? And then what can I tailor products to that audience that makes sense to them, that doesn't erode any of the equity that I've already built with them, but just offers them a product, a great product that they are probably very interested in purchasing. And if we replace websites with maybe podcasts, or we complement the websites with podcasts, or maybe some specific social media handles, you see a ton of those things out there. You start to create something that maybe is easily kind of shown through an example like Barstool Sports, where you have them creating a ton of attention around a ton of different kind of tailored umbrella kind of areas. They created a ton of attention through both social media handles, podcasts, websites, a number of different things that they've done, events and things of that nature. And then all of a sudden you have tens of millions of dollars a year annually in merchandising sales. You know, if they're a $100 million company, they do have, you know, some advertising revenue, they have some different things there, but a bulk of their revenue comes from merchandise sales. They've created attention that is more efficient, more effective than solely playing the same zigging game that everybody else is doing with trying to acquire that attention through advertising with Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Now, again, this is an oversimplification in terms of how I described all of those types of things. There's obviously a ton of different devil in the detail type of situations. And you can also layer a ton of other strategies on top of that, depending on the variables and the interests in which the business has, you know, utilizing maybe Amazon for their product sales, listing, traffic, fulfillment side of things. But the takeaway here is that we are going to be seeing more companies that create unconventional strategies for reaching consumers. You're going to see more digital marketing firms, creatives start CPG product brands. You're not necessarily just going to see the same old product first entrepreneurs. You're going to see entrepreneurs kind of come into the space and try their best to monetize the unique ways they understand how to create attention. It's no longer the product that defines the company. It's a combination of the product and the company's ability to bring it to market in a cost-effective way that is necessary for its success. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.